Hello and welcome to the Financial Clinic. I am Adenike Shokumbi and I'm so excited to be hosting you at the Financial Clinic today. Perhaps you're watching us for the very first time, you're seeing our video for the very first time, and you're wondering what we're about at the Financial Clinic. Money, and money conversations is what we're about at the Financial Clinic. Yes, you heard me right. We explore the world of money, demystifying complex financial concepts into steps, into actionable, practicable, strategies that you can actually engage for your financial growth. And ultimately, our mission is to help, guide, and support you on your journey to financial freedom. And as with every other Thursday, we are here again with yet another interesting conversation on our table. Yes, we have an interesting conversation on our table for dissecting, and trust we're going to do justice to the conversation. Well, the topic that we're having to tackle today at the Financial Clinic is a bit counterintuitive, and that's because most times when people hear waste, they kind of associate it with something that only the rich can do. So when people hear waste, like, oh, well, it's only rich people that can actually waste money. And so somebody who hears the topic that we're tackling this evening, which is hidden ways through which you're actually losing money in this economy. Some people are quick to just kind of exclude themselves, like, no, that can't be me. As in, which money? Is it possible to even waste money that I barely have? Like, I know wasting money, it is not the conversation for me. Maybe I should go and call my neighbor. I just bought a Mercedes Benz last week. Those are the people that this conversation is for. The conversation is for big ballers and not, me with my small pocket change and all of that. And the truth is, I understand, that sort of reasoning. And that's because that has been me. And 2 weeks ago at the Financial Clinic, the topic that I actually hosted, on this channel, Finding Your Money in the Waste, I shared a bit of my story about how I was also that person who would, just look at people who I, in my own opinion, felt were being lavish with their resources just because maybe the money they were spending on item is something that is like maybe 5 times or even 10 times what I was earning at the time. So I was always quick to kind of, label people as being wasteful, being lavish, and being extravagant. And one of the things that we made sure to establish in our last video, I mean the Finding Your Money in the Waste video, we established the fact that when it comes to waste, it has nothing to do with the amount being spent. Like people kind of, mostly believe that, oh, if you are spending 50 million naira at the shopping mall, it must mean that you are someone who doesn't know how to manage your money. We're able to establish in that conversation that when it comes to waste, when it comes to lavish and extravagance, what we are taking into consideration is not the amount being spent, rather is the percentage of your earnings that is actually going into that purchase at the time, that considers whether you are being wasteful or not. So much so that somebody who is spending 50 million naira at a shopping mall might be in the right, whereas somebody who is spending only 500k at a mall might be in the wrong. By the time we now look at, okay, so what percentage of your earnings has actually gone into this purchase that you have made? And so if you have not seen that video, you want to do well by going to catch the replay of that video, because everything that we had, the conversation we had in that video is kind of the foundation upon which I'm going to be building on in this conversation that we're having today, so that at least you understand why we are where we are. So we're actually coming from 2 weeks ago. So I encourage you to go look at that video so that you have a full understanding of what the conversation we are having today is, where it started from and what it's all about. So today we are looking at a very interesting topic, which is also kind of counterintuitive, like I have mentioned, ways, hidden ways through which you might be losing money in this economy. And I'm sure there are certain people that have already like in their heads, well, like I said, excluded themselves, it's for the big baller, it's not for me. Let me go and call my neighbor to come and take the front seat. But if you feel that way, actually the one that needs to, take the front seat in this conversation that we are having this evening. And talking about, hidden ways through which we are losing money, even without even realizing it. There are a couple of reasons, there are a couple of ways through which, we're actually losing money, even though we don't even realize it. And the very first one that I want to talk about is, is savings. Yes, I know it sounds a bit counterintuitive, and that's because all our lives, it was drummed in our ears, like it was drilled into us. Oh, you have to save, it's so important. I remember when I got my first job, before I even got the salary for the first job, the kind of counsel and the advice that I was receiving here and there, why I needed to save. You don't have to eat with all your 10 fingers. And that's me literally just interpreting or translating, a Yoruba adage that says, oh, if you go like, you can't eat with the whole of your fingers. And, that's saying is actually to kind of encourage people not to spend the whole of their earnings. And of course, even long before I started working, as with many other homes back in the days, piggy banking was a thing. Like in every home, at least most homes that I knew of back then, you know, piggy banking was a thing. Every time that you have uncles come around, you have aunts come around, or you have maybe your parents' friends, or even maybe during festive period where you have, a lot of people coming to visit and all of that, they will gift us money, and that money is not for spending. I also know that in some homes, I think maybe the parents will collect the money and maybe tell them they are keeping it for tell the children they are keeping it for them, and eventually they don't get the money. But in my home, it was different. We were allowed to actually have the money that was being gifted to us, but just that we needed to keep it in our piggy bank. And the truth of the matter is that savings has its own place. And I'm not about to say, oh, savings isn't good. You don't have to save. You have to, I'm not about to dispute everything that savings stand for. And if anything, I would say savings is actually absolutely very important. And if you are someone that is earning and then you're not saving, you are very much in the wrong. That's how important savings is. That's how important savings is. If you are earning, if you have an income, whether you're earning on a job or you have a business that you're earning money from, you must make sure that you are saving. And so maybe the next question on your mind will be, so when does saving become detrimental to my financial well-being? When does savings become detrimental to my financial well-being? Like I stated earlier, that savings is very important, especially when you're saving for short-term goals. Saving is very important for short-term goals. And what are the things that come under short-term goals? You have your rent. So someone can actually have a targeted savings for rent. You can actually also have a targeted savings for maybe your wedding. You can have a targeted savings to pay off your mortgage. You can have a targeted savings to pay off your children's school fees. You can have, so there are a lot of, short-term goals that savings is actually good for. So at what point now do you now cross from a place where the savings you're actually engaging in is good to when to a savings that is now detrimental to your well-being? So the point where you begin to save for long-term goal, when you begin to save for a long-term goal, then savings now becomes detrimental to your financial well-being. And what are the examples of the long-term goals like retirement? I remember that, when I was much younger, that my mom saved a lot. When I was much younger, my mom saved a lot. Then I think it was with First Bank. I can't remember which bank now, but there was a particular bank, one of these old banks that my mom was saving with at the time. And my mom would save and save and save. But one thing about that savings was it was not targeted. It was not a targeted savings. So my mom was just, saving, like, okay, maybe she was saving for retirement. We didn't have any conversation because, of course, I was quite young then. And by the time I was older, my mom was no longer in a position to be able to save. And so what happened to the money that my mom was saving at the time? So my mom saved for several years, and the savings wasn't targeted. And so it happened that one time, my own uncle, rather, one of our brothers, my uncle, had a major exposure in our business, and then a major exposure in his business, rather, and then he needed some funding, to be able to get back on his feet. And then he had this conversation with my mom, and eventually my mom withdrew everything in their account. And even up until tomorrow, my mom still used to talk about that. If only I knew what I was doing at the time. Yes, there's nothing wrong with, coming through for people. You have a brother who has a financial situation. There's nothing wrong with wanting to help. But there is everything wrong when you begin to now help people to the detriment of your own financial well-being. When you now help people to the detriment of your own financial well-being. And that was exactly what my mom did. And it was so easy for her to do that because even the savings was not targeted. The savings wasn't targeted, and eventually she had to use the savings for, someone else's, problem, without thinking that, how about if I also find myself in a situation where, I need to tap into an emergency, fund. But she didn't know, because she was not financially literate at the time. She was not financially literate. And so it's okay to, like we established, to actually have savings that is for your rent, savings that is for maybe children's school fees, and so on and so forth. But when it comes to long-term goals, you cannot afford to use savings for long-term goals. An example of a long-term goal is a retirement plan. And while I was, preparing for this class, I was still sharing with my husband how that, I just thought of, a situation where, someone's only plan for retirement is pension plan. If your retirement plan is tension, I've said tension now, is pension plan, then what the plan you have is actually a tension plan. And I wanted to say pension, while I was, preparing for the class, and I kept saying tension. And then I just realized that really, if the only retirement plan you have is a pension plan, then what you have is a tension plan. What you have is a pension plan. If the only plan you have is a pension plan. And what do I mean by pension plan? That plan that, you have at your office, where there's a certain percentage of your contribution that goes into the pension fund, and then there's a certain percentage that even the company that you're working with also sends to the pension fund. If that is the only plan that you have for retirement, that is, yes, don't help people to the detriment of your financial well-being. Yes, you can't use savings for long-term goal. Yeah, if your retirement plan is your only pension plan, what you have is a pension plan. Thank you so much, Dari Shokumbi. If your pension plan is the only plan you have, what you have is a pension plan. Because at the end of the day, by the time you get to that retirement age where you can no longer actively do something for yourself, you now realize that that money in pension is not enough to take away the tension. And when I mean tension, I mean the financial tension. And so if you're using savings as, if you're using savings for long term goal, then you are very much in the wrong. And I may not be able to. There are many reasons why you can't use savings for long-term plan. And of course, I'm going to talk about one, but the others maybe, if we have time today, we'll still be able to go into it. But if not, maybe subsequent conversation will be able to bring it up again. So if your pension plan is your only plan, I said eventually by the time you get to that retirement age, there is going to be a financial tension. There's going to be a financial tension. And so why do I say so? Money saved in the bank, because most times, like, oh, well, there's nothing wrong. I'm not losing money. How am I losing money if I'm saving money? Every time I'm checking my balance, I still see that the money I deposited I still have it there, and I have maybe little change on it. I have the money there and I still have little change on it. But the question is, yes, you're right by saying that the money, the value has not changed. The value is still the same. Maybe you have 1 million naira in your savings account. At least you are still seeing maybe 1 million naira and then an additional 5,000 naira on top. And then you're feeling like, yes, as long as I'm seeing the money saved, at least I saved money and I'm still seeing the money. That's all that I need. And that is okay. So if I do it over time, by the time I'm close to retirement, I know that, I have something tangible that I can actually rely on. But one thing that you need to understand is that there's something called inflation. There's such a thing as inflation. And what is inflation? People have come with different definitions, for inflation. Some say inflation is the sneaky tax that eats at your money. But that's true, because inflation, what is big grammar, right? But let's just break it down. Inflation is that chief executive officer that has been appointed to eat at the purchasing power of your money. Even though you still have 1 million naira in that account, but the truth is, what that 1 million naira could buy 2 years ago, you can no longer buy this year. I remember that there was a particular oil that somebody recommended that I should buy, and that was like maybe 3 years ago. Yes, that was about 3 years ago. And the first time that I will buy a carton of the oil, I bought it for 28,000 naira. I bought it for 28,000 naira. And then before that year ended, I was buying 28, 32, 30, and that was it. But fast forward to last year, December, I wanted to buy the same oil that 32,000 naira could get 2 years ago. By last year, December, it was going for about 170K. It was going for about 170K. So that 1 million naira that could buy whatever you could buy 2 years ago can no longer buy what you could buy 2 years ago in the today that we're in. And so that's something with inflation. And so you can say, but the savings account is actually generating some interest. I'm having interest paid and all of that. But the interest rate that is being paid on the savings account that you are operating cannot catch up with the inflation rate. It cannot catch up. The rate that at which inflation is running, the interest that they are paying cannot actually cover up for the inflation rate that is eating, away at the money that you have kept in the savings account. There is a particular parable in the Bible that I kind of like, the parable of the talents. And for those that are not Christians, let me just, do a bit of a recap. It was about a master that was going on a trip, and then before he set out for the trip, he called 3 of his servants, and to one, he gave 5 talents, to another, he gave 2 talents, and to another, he gave 1 talent. And eventually, the person that was given 5 talents went ahead, multiplied the 5 talents, and was able to have 5 additional talents, now making it 10 talents. The one that was given the 2 talents also went and did business rather with the money, and was able to multiply. He took it from 2 talents to 4 talents. But the one that was given 1 talent came back with story. I know, master, a very wicked, master, this one, blah, blah, blah. But eventually he was able to go to why he was not able to actually invest that money. And that was because of fear. Like, because I was afraid. I went to hide the talent. I went to hide the money that I was supposed to use for business. I went to keep it in a piggy bank. Because that was exactly what the person did. Like, maybe dug a hole and kept the money there. I was afraid. I didn't want to go, and I know I was afraid. I didn't want to go and take any unnecessary risk, and then I'll now lose the money. So because he did not want to take risk. I remember that there was a particular point in my life, there was one business I was doing at the time, and someone got interested in the business and was like, oh, can you put me through, this business and all of that? And of course, I, forwarded some videos to the person explaining what the business was all about and all. And after I was done explaining, I think it took like 1 week for us to actually get to a point where the person was able to understand what the business was about. And then the next thing the person would say is, yes, I understand, this business now, but I'm the risk averse person. I don't really like taking risk like that. So can you borrow me some money so that I'll do this business? And then when I get the profit, then I'll be able to give you your capital. Of course, it was laughable because I laughed like, okay, so you want the profit that comes with, the investment, right? You want a profit that comes with the business, but you're not ready to risk anything. You're not willing to risk for the profit that you want. And it's one of the reasons why so many people, we just want that, safety net. And when it comes to investment, it's not safety net. And this is not to say to invest recklessly. But after doing your due diligence, it's important that you take that step. It's important that you take that step. There are a lot of people who have money that is sitting in savings account that has no business sitting in that savings account. So people have monies that have been sitting in savings account for 10 years, some maybe for 5 years, some maybe for 15 years, some even for 20 years. And it's like you're wasting that money. So imagine, that you had 20 million naira from 10 years ago. 20 million naira from 10 years ago, what you could buy 10 years ago. Was it today that my husband was even still telling me about, about the price of a particular car, I think Big Daddy, that he said is now 5.5 million naira. I was like, what? 5.5 million naira? Because I know that I have a brother-in-law that had that car, and the period that he bought it, I'm not sure it was even up to 2 million naira from how many years ago. Even the Camry that was going for, when we bought our Camry, I think it was 3.8 million naira or so. And that was how many years ago? Maybe, was it 7 or 8 years ago? But today is no longer the same story. It's about maybe 10 million or between 10 million and 12 million naira now. So imagine that you have 3 million naira kept in, as in kept in savings. Imagine you have 3 million naira kept in savings from that time, like, when it's 6 years time or when it's 5 years time, I'll finally be able to. So at the end of the day, inflation is going to eat deep at that money. Inflation is going to eat deep at that money, and eventually you are losing money. There's so much to actually say about savings, but because of our time and also given the fact that I started quite late, I'll just move on to the next point, which might also be like my final point, because the other point I don't think we'll have enough time to be able to talk or touch on them. And so it's important that we know that, yes, it's good to save, and savings has its place. If you're saving for short-term goals, then you are good to go. By all means, you are good to go if you are saving for short-term goals. But if it's for long-term goal, like retirement, please, or you want to save to, buy a house, as in all those kind of, long-term goal, I don't encourage that you do savings. I don't encourage that you do savings. And when it comes to investment, some people might think that, oh, I'm not caught out. I don't think there's anybody that is caught out for risk taking. There's nobody that is caught out for risk taking. There's something about us humans that is about, we want to just protect ourselves, we want to protect our finances and all of that. And anything that looks like, this thing, we might lose it, I want to try as much as possible, not to, take that action just because, it's a normal human tendency. But by the time you start, and of course, for somebody who is not used to investments, I'm not going to say, oh yeah, so you have to go and start from high risk. Of course not. You have to start from where you are. Start doing, what are the low risk investment? Instead of just putting your money in savings account, you can begin to look at what are the low risk investments, options that are available that I can actually take advantage of. Instead of just allowing your money to sit down in the savings account, you can begin to like, okay, so how does it work? Mutual fund, how does it work? How does treasury bills work? So just talk to your financial advisor to know what are the options that are available. as it has to do with low risk, and begin to take steps to building your investment muscle, because it's a muscle that has to be built. And if you don't build it, you may never be able to take that step, to invest. Just like the servant that told his master, oh, no, because I was afraid. Because I was afraid. You must be willing to move past that, being afraid. You have to move past being scared, to, get into that place where you are able to start making, good investment decisions that will help you even on your journey to financial independence. And okay, so the last one I'm going to be talking about for today, one of the hidden ways that you are losing money is beat purchases. Beat purchases. You see why I say that people who are earning less even need to be part of this conversation more. Beat purchases. And by beat purchases, I mean, there are people that they do. Anytime I want to I recharge my internet on my phone, and I go to the plan, I see that people can even do as low as 100 naira. And the lesser you do, at the lesser gig you do, or MB, because 100 naira I think is MB. So when you're doing like 100 naira MB, what you get, more like you're paying more. The lesser you pay, yeah, the lesser the more, if you're paying more, if you're the lesser MB you are getting, the more you are paying. That's what I mean. The lesser MB you're getting, the more you're paying. And I'm like, oh, there are people who actually are taking this option of, you come today, you do 100 naira gig, sorry, MB. You do 100 naira for maybe how many, I don't know how many, maybe 50 MB for 100 naira. And then you do it for today. Tomorrow again, then you're now exhausted. And then tomorrow you come. By the time you calculate how much it is that you have spent at the end of the month, you have spent more than someone that just went and bought maybe 1.5 or 2.5 gig for 1,200 naira. And so some people will go to the market, you buy, you are buying on the go. Like, okay, today what are we eating? Oh, you say, oh, maybe spaghetti, or oh, yeah, Indomie. You go to the market, maybe you buy 4 packs of Indomie, or you buy 1 or 2 packs of spaghetti, and then you come, you cook. Oh, tomorrow again you go. Oh, you go and buy 2 cups of rice and all of that. And beat buying. And by the time you calculate at the end of the month, you have paid more than the person who goes to the market and buys maybe quarter bag of rice, or 1/8 bag of rice, or 1/12, bag of rice. And so, as much as it can look like, oh, rich people, and they are buying 1 bag of rice because they have the money and all of that. No, they are buying quarter bag of beans. They are buying airtime. They are buying things in bulk. Oh, just because they are not trying to show off. It's just because it's cheaper. It's just because it's cheaper. Because as much as people can say, oh, the economy is hard, and the things that 30,000 could buy 10 years ago, right now you need 300,000. Or 10 years ago is even far. Maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Now, maybe, oh, you need 300,000 to be able to buy the same thing. How much was a bag of rice? How many years ago? How much are we buying a bag of rice now? And so, beat buying, beat purchases is eating away, even though you are saying the economy is hard and all of that. But I would say the reason why people are doing beat purchases is because, they just feel that, oh, well, I'm not earning much. I'm not earning much. But what if I tell you that you can actually plan around even that money that is not much? Because I remember that growing up, one of the things that my mom would do is, she was always fine. We weren't earning much too. She was not me anyway. They weren't earning much. My parents were not earning much. But one thing that I always saw my mom, I always saw her do back then was those things she was always buying in bulk. Like, not necessarily 1 bag of rice, but maybe even if it's quarter bag of rice, she'll put in the house. If it's a quarter bag of beans or 1/8, she'll put in the house. And all of those things that we're having to eat, she'll buy, as in like the amount that she could afford, she'll buy, but she'll never like go and buy, except in some cases where, oh, okay, so we have exhausted what we have at home, go and buy 2 derica of rice. And so as much as it can be saying, it's just the difference is not much, Dari. The difference is not much. And it's just by the time we now calculate, eventually those small leaks, they will build momentum. And by the time you are back up, by at the end of the year, by the time you now calculate how much it has cost you to be doing the bit buying, you now see that, or even that money that you could have, you now see the money that you could have saved off, the bit purchases. And so, as much as people are complaining, oh, economy is hard and all of that, if you are financially literate, then you put planning in place. Like, that, oh, at the end of the month, how much comes to you as it has to do with salary? Is it five, or is it, let's say, 50K or 100K? Can you plan around, the things that, you regularly need as it has to do with grocery in your house? So can you plan around that 50K salary? Can you plan around that 100K salary? Like, okay, so what portion of this salary am I going to allocate to grocery? Before we even are in my own family, before we got to where we are now, as it has to do with our finances, I remember back then how that we're always planning as far back as 9 years, not 9 years now, 12 years ago, how that, so like, okay, 30K is going into groceries, and then we'll bring out the money, we bring that 30K, and then I go to the market, everything that I was going to need for the month. So instead of buying like, oh, maybe pieces of spaghetti or cups of rice on the go, what I would do, go to the market, or even if I can't afford to buy 1 carton of spaghetti, I'm like, oh, how much is 1 carton of spaghetti? They tell me the price. Oh, okay, so half of it will be what? They tell me. Oh, quarter of it will be much. It will be how much? They tell me, and then I pay for quarter. Oh, the rice, how much is the bag of so? Oh, the what's it called now, toothpaste, how much is the pack of close up? Oh, half will be how much, quarter will be how much? And that way you are saving money, as against that. Oh, you go and buy one and then the next week again you go and buy another. By the time you calculate, that money you are saying is not even available, you now see that you are even overspending. And so we recognize that, the times are hard, things are tough, the economy is not how it used to be, and it's not something that is peculiar to Nigeria alone. Some of my friends in diaspora that I spoke with in recent time, they're like, this thing is general. Of course it will impact us differently, but at the same time, when we have economic, whether recession or hardship and all of that, it's also a time for one to get into that place where you are planning everything that has to do with your finances. So if you have money that you have earned, if you have money that you earned, hardly, like I had earned money. So you want to ensure that everything that you're doing in with that money is counting, for good. You want to ensure that anything that looks like waste around that money, you want to cut it off. You want to cut off every waste around that money. And so being part of the financial clinic also kind of just gives you that opportunity to know things about your finances that maybe the average person does not know about. And one thing that I always tell people is, knowledge is not just about that you just know does not make any difference. That and that you have facts around how money should be spent, or how it is that you should organize your finances, does not mean that automatically your finances will adjust. Knowledge that you have that you don't act upon is still a wasted potential. So you know that, bulk buying, you're losing money through bulk buying, you're wasting money through bulk buying, but that that it's not something that you should be doing, that is not okay to do big purchases because you are losing money that way. It's not enough. You must be ready to execute, even if it's 15,000 naira, that at the beginning of the month or at the close of the month that you're in, that okay, this 15K, what I'm going to do is, okay, since we used to, as in, just go to the market, make sure, as in, every kobo it matters in this economy. Every kobo matters in this, every naira matters in this economy. And so you'll be doing yourself a great disservice if you still want to carry on like, it doesn't matter, I'll just still be buying things on the go and all of that. I'll still be doing, what's they call bid purchases. I would rather, be seeing my money in the account. At least let me be seeing my balance. Yes, you'll be seeing your balance, but inflation will be also eating at that balance. Inflation will also be eating at that balance. And that is where we are going to draw the curtain tonight. And I want to say it's important that we maximize our earnings, especially in this present economy that we are in. We must be looking for ways to actually multiply that which we have. It's not enough to earn money. It's important for us to commit to the knowledge that we need to be able to manage that money. It's important that we also begin to also build our investment, muscle, so that we are able to, after due diligence, take that step. We no longer allow, fear to hold you back from making an investment option that is not a reckless one. Until we see you in our next class, I want you to keep making wise investment decisions, right? And so, bye bye for now.